Waiting in the Wings is about a mix-up between a hot stripper and a theater geek.
A fun concept where one person is meant to do one thing and the other person is meant to do something, and they somehow get switched.
It's that classic unlikely mix-up that no one questions.
It's a story that people can relate to. It's a story that people want to root for. And there's a man who just went on this crazy journey to see his dreams through and never gave up, and ended up finding love in the process.
Which you don't see a lot in musicals, sadly. You should see more of it.
I think that's why people love the film, because that's at the heart of it. You're watching these two unlikely, these characters in unlikely situations rise to the top and learn something about themselves and the people around them in the process.
And I think it's really a feel-good movie. It's a movie that I hope just makes people happy, want to leave the theater singing and dancing.
It's a classic musical. I don't think it needs to be different. It has all the elements, good elements of like a classic, good musical movie that you want to watch, which I think you haven't seen in a long time, because it's really hard to capture the essence of a musical on film, and I think that this movie does that really, really well.
It has a throwback to the 1920s, 1930s, but yet a contemporary feel. There's something about it that mixes the two. There's a charm about it that you don't find in most American musicals right now.
It's made me re-fall in love with theater again, because I had missed it. It was missing from my life for so long.
I just love that this movie captures the feeling of going to the theater, but you're going to the movies.
Everything about the film I enjoyed watching when I finally got a chance to see the entire film from beginning to end. Oh, it fit together, everything was funny, some was emotionally really, to the core, but I loved it. It was really wonderful.
I love Waiting in Wings, and if you haven't seen it yet, you're gonna love it too.
I think when I realized the film was going to happen was when we actually went to the recording studio, and when I actually brought some people in to start recording the demo CD. We released a demo before we actually went into production so people could hear the quality of music that we were going to put up onto the big screen. And we finally had something tangible. I had been working on the script for years, and then Ari came on board and was working on music, but we actually had something tangible to say, this is what's coming. And I think that was the moment, and I had 4 excellent singers come in and record some demos for us, which really helped.
Who wants Phantom just to close? Some days, most Jews,
But not girls who need love.
who's investing in the shows? It's Jews,
It's Jews.
Jews. Come on, you are part of the squad. You pray to Sondheim instead of to God. Sondheim would defecate, you would applaud. Hooray! Don't you, I tell you, it's not. No! We'll raise our razors and pull.
The auditions were really exciting for me because I'm typically an actor, so I'm always on the performance side and the auditioning side. But sitting in on the casting side was really eye-opening. Some of my favorite actors didn't fit roles that we had. And the talent that came in was incredible, and I was very lucky for that. Watching them dance to Gays, Jews, and Girls Who Need Love as a group of dancers just wanting a part was electric. I mean, there was so much energy in the room, and to see something like that really got me pumped to start the project, and really excited about getting it to the big screen. And seeing some of the singers come in and singing original music that I've only heard our musical director Ari sing was great.
About it was watching everyone on the production staff come out of the room. Their energy was so high and their spirit was really great. But the energy as each person came out of the room to talk to someone or to get something done was so high that you just kind of felt like, oh, shucks, I'm in the right place. This is where I'm supposed to be. And then when I got into the room to do my thing, well, there was so much positivity in the room. A rarity, let me say. So much positivity in the room that I was already, I really went back to my pop energy. I was right back in the center of it because there was so much great energy in the room. And then my character wasn't originally supposed to sing. Singing is my thing. I mean, I'm a storyteller. That's what I love to do. And so once I sang, then Jeffrey started talking about writing a song for the character. That's when I knew. Either I'm gonna get a call back, or I'm booking this baby.
I loved auditioning for this movie because once in a blue moon, you read a role in a description of casting, and you just go, wait, that's me. That's describing me. I had to submit myself. I submitted myself 3 times before I finally got an audition, but I just believed it that much, and I just kept saying, I know that they're not listening to me, but I'm gonna keep doing it. And then I finally went in, and it was just, it felt right and it felt great. And as soon as I read with Jeffrey and as soon as I met with Ari, it just felt like kismet. The director was describing her as Glinda meets Dolly Levi, and that's me. I'm Glinda meets Dolly Levi.
Been involved for months now, and Jeff and I would sit and argue about songs that we would use, and sometimes I would win, and most of the time he would win. But I've always loved musicals. My grandma took me to my very first musical, and I didn't even know. I thought it was stupid, and then I loved it. And there's nothing more than I love than musicals. So to do a movie musical and have that preserved is so awesome.
It's an interesting situation when you find out your cast in a show before you've ever read it, or that the people involved in filming are interested in you. That's a very unusual situation, and it was this was the case that I said yes, and very quickly before they changed their minds.
You know, Jeffrey reached out to me in a very unconventional way, but now that I know and love Jeffrey, that's Jeffrey. But he found me via, I think maybe IMDb or something, and he emailed me and said, hey, I've seen some of your work, and I'm interested if you want to come audition for a movie musical that I'm doing. At first I thought, well, who the hell is this, you know? But I said, I talked to him, and he was so earnest and sincere, and I'm like, all right, this isn't a crazy person. This is someone who really has a vision and knows what he's doing. I want to meet him. So sent me the sides. I think I had to prepare a song, I want to say, and I showed up, and Madeline Clark Studios in the Valley, and I met Jeffrey and Ari, and they were great, you know, like off the bat. I think we sort of clicked.
I got involved in Waiting in the Wings when Jeffrey Johns called me and asked me to be in it, and at the time I didn't think it was going to work out because there was lots of other stuff going on at the time, but he was very persistent, and luckily things ended up working out because it's such a great movie, and Jeffrey Johns is so talented, as is everyone who worked on this project, and it was so fun getting to be in a musical. I do have a background in musical theater. I grew up doing musicals in Las Vegas. That's where I'm from. I started doing musicals when I was 9. I was Annie in Annie, and from that point on I just was a total musical theater nerd throughout the rest of my childhood. I did community theater and, you know, school plays, of course, in Las Vegas. So I love musicals, and moving to Los Angeles, I don't get to do it as much as I'd like to, and so this was so refreshing and nostalgic for me being able to be in a musical.
The callbacks were nerve-wracking though. You know, I sang as a child, and so I would say, you know, I sing in the shower, but I had to sing in the callbacks, and there was a high note that, you know, ended up making me nervous.
I had to sing. rap ballet. Right steps had got me.
I've always dreamed of being in a musical. I did musical theater as a kid, and so it's very rarely do you see in the breakdowns, you know, that they're shooting a movie musical that I could potentially be in that's not, you know, like an A-list cast of, you know, Hugh Jackman. And so I've just, it's been a dream. Like it was a bucket list dream that I didn't know that I had, and which is why I pursued it. And so it was just a dream to be in a movie musical, and I'm glad it happened. The stripper audition was very interesting. I'm very comfortable being shirtless. You know, I walk around the house shirtless. I'm always in my underwear. But it was interesting to learn, you know, stripper choreography and perform it in front of, you know, a panel of people just sitting there staring at you. And it was, you know, you can't have any inhibitions. You just have to go for it and get ready to get naked, which I've never, you know, basically had to do before in a room of people. And they sent us choreography, you know, on a YouTube video, and I actually learned it, you know, right behind me, in that room right behind me, and you know, performed it for my dog, and then just went in there and stripped like everybody was watching.
And I do think sometimes you get in a position where you are not the most castable. You know, oh, we're looking for this type or we're looking for that type, and the type that's never coming up seems to be you.
Didn't think we'd ever see you again.
I'm sorry about last night, guys. You're just all so gorgeous.
I know.
Shut up, Bo. Anthony, it's great to see you.
So I think that's where really I decided maybe I should create something, and create something around this type that is not the typical type out there. So Anthony came to life on the screen.
The rehearsal process for the musical numbers was quick. We did not have much time. This was all about, which was so great about the cast, and that everybody came from a theatrical background. We had maybe 4 hours to do Gays, Jews, and Girls Who Need Love.
Gays and Jews and girls who need love. 3 different species of sun, love, and light. Lambasting, lighting, and costume.
Contemporary, we must have staged maybe in an hour. I mean, it was quick.
We had this great choreographer from New York, Cassie and Roddy.
Hi, I'm Cassie Nordgren.
I'm Roddy Kennedy.
And we're the choreographers.
And they sent us, you know, they put the numbers together at their dance studio and had numbers, literally numbers on people's shirts that represented the character they're playing, from like 1 to 8 or whatever the numbers were. And then they ran these dance numbers, and you'd have to follow your character to see where he goes. Now, I'm not great at choreography. I'm just not, okay? So, you know, don't call it method acting. It's just real. You know, just like Tony, I need some time, and I can't just jump into choreography. So here I am, trying to teach myself this choreography from this video, having a lot of trouble doing so. And then we had like 1 day of a really long rehearsal, and I think I got lost because it was pretty far away, and I missed half of it. Very Tony-like. Cassie and Roddy were great with me, and they worked with me between scenes, because you know, you have a lot of downtime on set. So we would just go over and over and over and over it again, to like, because I had to master how to be bad, you know, and I was already bad, so I did that. But you have to sort of know the dance moves enough and know what you're doing to be funny bad.
I remember meeting you and Ari at a studio in North Hollywood to go over my song and get the key ready and everything. To do that with you guys. My mom's a piano teacher and a pianist, and so I grew up with her playing and singing, and Ari has this huge voice and he's a great pianist, and so we had a really fun just musical theater, hardcore musical theater nerd time when we did that. And I remember just thinking, oh, these guys are great, and I didn't know you at all, and I didn't know Ari at all, so I was like, oh, I hope this project is gonna go okay. And then as soon as I met you guys on that first day, I was like, this is gonna be fine.
Singing an original song for the person that actually wrote it was very difficult for me personally, because they're so invested in exactly that outcome, and so you want to make it perfect. You want to do exactly what they want while still making it your own. It was exciting. It was the most nerve-wracking part for me before I even went in there, just because I had never recorded my voice in that way in a recording session. And so there's something about being on screen and being able to, you know, utilize, you know, your body and your voice and everything together. And when you're just recording, it's difficult, especially if you've never done it before.
My training that prepared me for Rita, probably being Jewish and learning how to fake it. Just kidding. I'd have to say my stage training prepared me because she's a stage actor and that's the place she loves and that's where she's comfortable. She's more comfortable on stage than in a conversation. And you see that a little bit with her storyline with Adam Huss. And I think Rita is confident to a degree, but also she's a helper, she's a caretaker. She does it a little too forcefully, but I teach a lot and I work with kids a lot, and I think that's a way that I understood her desire to fix people. I'm not a fixer like that, I'm a helper. But, and she likes the gay boys. I like the gay boys. But yeah, and I think it's just being a theater person, you work well in an ensemble, and this movie was an ensemble cast, and so we loved being together.
Ethel is a wonderful character, and she was starstruck at one time in her life, and she was in New York and trying, but she didn't make it. She feels so much for Anthony because she was there earlier, of course, trying to make it in New York, trying to get a start in show business. She wants desperately to be in show business, so that's why. And she sees a kindred spirit in him. It's a mother figure. A mother's love definitely takes hold, and she's a spinster, and she cares about him and wants him to succeed, and that's you know, it's heaven to play. And she loves the theater, and she loves movies, and she loves the stage, and well, I do too, so that was very easy to play.
I am like Gina in the way that I'm bitter and jaded and dead inside. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I'm like her because I'm an actress, but I'm not nasty. I think like Gina has a real nasty, venomous side to her. I'm similar to her in a lot of ways, but I'm not that mean. I'm not that mean. But I did grow up hardcore musical theater, and I do dance, so in that regard, we're similar. I think Gina is a compilation of a lot of actresses I've met over my life. Gina, I mean, I think if you're in theater or even just an actor in general, like everyone knows that Gina is just like bitter and super jealous of everybody and just like poo-pooing everything that's going on all the time. Right. My availability wasn't good, so that's why my character's leg was broken in the movie, which is hilarious, but I think it added a nice layer of comedy to the role of Gina to make her even more bitter, if that's possible, because she's such a horrible, bitter person. And I think the fact that she also broke her leg makes it even better. Like, of course she broke her leg, you know what I mean? Like, it made it, I think it added a nice element.
How am I like Tony, and how am I different than Tony? I'm like Tony in a way that, okay, there is a side to me that's very playful and I think childlike and wide-eyed, and I've had a couple people say to me, you're a very young soul. I really try to take that with Tony and take it even further, that's really the way that he sort of just goes through life, because everything's easy. I mean, he really doesn't have a care in the world when the movie starts. You know, it's like, I got this. You know, I'm a stripper, I make all this money, I date all the women that I want, I live at my brother's house, I don't have to pay rent, I don't really have a lot of bills. What's the problem, you know? I think when he happily discovers that he does have more underneath, it really opens up another side of Tony that makes him a better person as we go along, because he winds up really caring about, I think, Anthony and wanting to help him. I could probably learn a little bit from Tony to let go a little bit, but I think you know, in the end, Tony's heart really wins out and comes through. And that's probably the biggest similarity. Like, I am hard on myself, I really am. But if I could say one good thing about myself, always is I have a pretty big heart.
I always describe Lee as the stripper with a heart of gold. He has, a dancing background like I do. Well, I shouldn't say that because then you see the film and you're like, he's not that good. But I did, in my younger years. And he's the ringleader of the group of strippers. He's the voice of reason, and he is a good guy. Preparing for the role of Lee was simple because I related to him so well. There are these sweet layers to him, but he's not, this crazy complicated guy. He had, a simple dream of making money in New York City and making in New York City, and then falling in love with Anthony. And so there wasn't tons to prepare for. The most preparation was, just getting in the best shape physically that I could be.
How am I like Kelsey? Well, I think he's fun-loving, and I think that's a good portion of who I am. And then there's a feistiness about Kelsey that I have. I had done drag in films before, and I'd been stuck. It's like I shot myself in the foot. And for a long while, I kept getting offered drag queen roles. And so I had decided I would never do a drag queen role again. And then I saw the breakdown of this, and I saw that there was duality. You got to see Kelsey out of drag as well as in drag. And that was exciting to me. That was another way to approach the character. You get to see some colors of him, and there was also something very nurturing about him. Like, you got to see the tough side of him, and you get to see the sweet side of him, and that was a really nice arc for that character. So I decided to do it. Of course, because I messed up my schedule, I messed it up so the part of Kelsey out of drag was cut down immensely, and the scene was rewritten because I had messed up my schedule. There's a parent nature about him, especially once he loves you and he supports you. Then he really has your back, and I think that's a lot about who I am. I really wanted to play that close to the core.
I think being an actor is the fun part. Being the producer was definitely a challenge. I sometimes joke and say more acting went into being the producer than playing the role of Anthony. So things were always coming in right as you were on your high, like, this is so much fun. So I was somewhat focused on Anthony, but somewhat pulled out of it sometimes. We had 2 truck accidents, which thank goodness we took insurance out on the trucks before we rented them. We also had a paint spill one day where the truck, when it got in the accident, paint got spilled over in the truck. A lot of our things broke, and then someone had to wash out the truck. And all the paint went on the street. And then we got a summons from the city because we had yellow paint stretched all the way down the street. And we had to go and scrub and get special paint remover and scrub the streets of Anaheim, California. And it was probably a good half a mile of paint that we were scrubbing off the concrete. And that I was doing with some of the PAs while we were shooting other scenes, which thank goodness I wasn't in that day. But yeah, there were a lot of mishaps, a lot of learning experiences, but the most important thing for me was to make sure the energy in the film was high and that the cast was appreciated and the crew, and that we respected them. Because I think that's really important, especially when you're not paying the actors or the crew what they deserve because you are a low budget film. I think it's really important to make them feel valued and make them feel like they have a great place to come to work.
When I was filming Batman, it was my first big major movie, so I was green as the hills. So I came to this particular project with confidence. I felt better about myself, and I love the script. It's exciting, it's new, it's fun, and that's why I've done so many independent films, because it just is a thrill. It really is a thrill. Boy, when you see it on the screen, you see all the hard work, and it doesn't look like hard work, which is really, that's perfect. This was all prepared. Everybody did their work. It was heaven. When I read it, I know what I wanted to do with it and hoped that I'd be able to do it. and that everything else would work in. And when I saw it, I said, oh, I shouldn't have worried at all, ever. You know, you're concerned about a project and you want it to flourish and to grow and to be the epitome of what everyone wants. And sometimes that doesn't happen, but it did this time. Yeah.
I will tell you, I was very nervous to work with Lee at first because she has such experience and she's so talented, and the whole time I kept thinking, I want this project to live up to your standards. You know, when she came on board, and she came to the very first table read, and she gave notes on the script. I mean, she was very involved from the beginning. It raised the level of pressure to make sure that this movie wasn't just good, but it was great and something you'd be proud to be a part of. And I remember the very first day she showed up on set, I thought, this is really happening. I'm going to be in a scene with Lee Merriweather. You know, and then it just became such a friendship, I think. And the Ethel Anthony is very similar, I think, to our real relationship. She's been so supportive, and having someone like Lee support you in a project like this is unbelievable.
Filming my favorite number, contemporary musical theater song, it was a long day. But it was so exciting that I never felt tired. The only way I knew I was tired is my feet would give out on me a little bit. But it was a full 12-hour day. I was duct taped into that dress. And we had to do it over and over and over again to get all the lifts but we were singing. I could have mouthed it because we had pre-recorded it, but I didn't want to because I wanted it to have the feel of singing and the look of singing. So I sang out every single time. So it was exhausting, but so exciting. I was surrounded by 5 gorgeous men all day doing Fosse. I was hoping, because it was a movie, to have a stunt body do my choreography, but I'm not that famous yet. So I was definitely hoping it'd be stuff I can cheat on. I'm a big dance cheater, because I used to be a dancer, but not anymore. So I was happy when it was just bouncing and hand movements. And then at the end of the day, the choreographer was so lovely, she just let me stand and have the boys do stuff around me. I was really lucky. They really made it look good without me having to do a split. Adam Huss is dreamy. He's so exciting. It was great working with a film actor as my opposite, because he kept reminding me how intimate it was. It just felt easy, and he's just lovely to look at, lovely to touch.
The filming days seemed pretty long for the musical numbers to me. After doing it over and over again, you're sort of like, okay, I'm ready to move on and act now, you know. Like, but it was fun because you got to break it up into parts. It made you look good, and you knew that. It made you look better. Well, I'll speak for myself. It made me look better. So I liked that we did little pieces where I could, okay, I gotta perfect this little move at least to look decent, because that's the number where I am supposed to kind of come together.
So we filmed my strip number 1.5 times. So the halftime, I was told, because filming was so tight, that halftime that we didn't do the full number was the only time I was going to get to strip. We couldn't film my full strip number, and so I had been, you know, restrictive of my diet. Not crazy, but you know, I'd been restricting my diet, and so I was told that day that we weren't going to be able to film my whole number just for time. And so I said, okay. So I went and I think I ate 3 donuts in a row, and you know, just put on a muumuu shirt, and then 5 minutes later I was told, we have time, we're filming your strip number. So every time I see the movie, I realize that I'm like, I had like, you know, at least 3 donuts in my stomach at that time, right when I was filming that number, and thank God for lighting. The biggest challenge about filming the musical, you know, I think, is syncing your voice to your track. That is you know, it is a very interesting, intricate, you know, delicate filming process, and I think it's the biggest, you know, difference in terms of what you know, what you're doing in a film versus a musical. There's all the heart in it still, and you know, there's the acting beats, and there's, you know, the emotion and stuff like that, but the only thing that's different is adding the music.
It was such a joy. I think I had a great time every day you were there. She brings a very natural feel to the set, and I think the thing I really like about her is, no matter how much experience she has, she was always a team player, and she really taught me a lot about acting and the kind of actor I want to be.
Oh, the horse costume. The horse costume was the most uncomfortable costume I've ever worn in my life. And that's saying a lot because I've worn some uncomfortable costumes in my day, let me tell you. But it wasn't so much like the outfit, but the headpiece that was the real killer. It was like the heaviest, most ridiculous thing. I mean, the costume was warm too, I'm not gonna lie, under those stage lights. It was a little unpleasant, I'm not gonna lie. But I think that it looks good.
My favorite costume was I love the Chinese robe. That was like one of my favorite things. I love the Chinese robe, the geisha robe that she wore. That was really, really cute, especially when I had the little stocking cap on my head. But I don't think you saw that. You saw me in the wig, but there was a moment I was walking around with a stocking cap on my head that I absolutely loved with the geisha robe on. I thought that was fabulous. And I loved the star-spangled dress, even though I felt it was a little bit uncomfortable. I didn't like the way it held on my shoulders, but that's me being girly girl. I can only talk about the fact of the fear that I was going to melt all my makeup off during the song and dance number for my character because it was so hot in the room. I actually have a picture of them holding up the wig and with the fan on me and trying to blow the heat out from under the wig. It was so hot. I guess that was a funny moment. I had a great time though. Oh my God, I had a great time. How was it working with all the strippers?
Yeah, I think one of the funniest moments on set was when there's a scene where Jeffrey's character I'm teaching him how to strip. Tony's teaching him how to do some stripper moves. And this is after we've learned about the crossover. And, you know, of course, Rena's character put this whole thing together. And she is, she's basically like sitting on the couch watching this performance go on, and we both are. And Jeffrey rips his pants off and throws them at us on the couch. And it was supposed to be like where the pants were supposed to land in my face, and it's like,
I ripped off my stripper pants, and the Velcro got caught in our lead actress, Rena Strober's hair. And it was supposed to just kind of land on Adam's face, and we couldn't get it out of her hair. We had to cut take. I mean, she had the Velcro from my stripper pants shoved in her hair, and it was in there good, which is terrible to laugh, but it was so funny. She didn't get hurt.
And Jeffrey had to come in, slowly came in, like helped pull it out, and she was like freaking out, poor thing. But then she was okay in the end.
An interesting thing with production is we had the entire movie filmed, but we didn't have an ending. We did not lock in our Broadway diva until 8 months after production. We had the entire movie edited, and we still hadn't cast Shirley Jones, but we finally got Shirley Jones cast. And one thing I decided pretty close to that 8-month period is we decided we wanted to have tap dancers. I woke up in the middle of a dream and I said, we need tap dancers in the finale. This film is missing tap dancers. So I decided to have tap auditions, and we had the most incredible guys show up tap dancing. I wish we could have taken all 20 that showed up. It was a really nice ending, and I thought a really nice touch to the movie, and a really nice way to feature Shirley Jones.
Give my regards to old Broadway and say that we'll be there ere long.
I often get asked what my favorite scene in the movie is, and that scene is The World Needs Music.
Everyone can sing. It just takes finding the right song. The world needs music.
It was interesting because Jeffrey wore many hats on set, and so it was the opportunity, one, for us to really just like have lots of time together and bond, and that was the moment when I was like, I love this man so much. And you know, story-wise, it's just so fun and whimsical, and I've never, you know, sang to my own voice, and so that was interesting, and just dancing around and being silly, and it really set the tone for the film and personally for me in my experience and just having like a blast on set.
I love the scene where the after party where I'm downing champagne and just being like drunk and ridiculous. To me, that was really, really fun. Even though I drank a lot of apple cider, which made me a little nauseous, it was still really fun to do.
Watching the strip show. I'm sorry, no, that wasn't really my favorite. But it was fun. It was fun.
Second favorite scene, which would that tie, is the scene where Jeffrey and Kelsey, Jeffrey's character and my character Kelsey, has that really sweet, loving moment. Tell the drama to your mama.
What drama?
Bob told me you might be quitting.
Listen, just because my dreams are dead doesn't mean I'm gonna turn my back on people living theirs.
Oh, baby. They're not dead, they're just in a coma. You'll get your chance. And because that really is where we are like, Kelsey and I. You know, that kind of sweetness, and I really felt that moment. And every time I see it in the film, it's the one part in the film that I'm really pleased with. I felt like I really got what I was going for.
My favorite moment was when we were filming I'm a Disney Whore. There was a scene where my character was supposed to be underneath the covers of a bed. He was supposed to pop out of the covers. He jump into an Indian costume, put on a headdress, put on a canoe, and row across the stage in about 30 seconds. Well, I found I couldn't make that change. It wasn't possible. In my head, it worked beautifully. But when we got to set, it didn't work out so well. So I jump out of the bed, get out of my nightcap, put on the headdress, and I couldn't do it. So I went up to Lee Merriweather and I said, Lee, do you mind wearing a canoe? And not knowing her horribly well at this point, she goes, excuse me? And so I put the canoe on her, and she put it on because it had straps, and she put the canoe on. I gave her the oar, which she didn't know the oar was coming. So I gave her the oar, and then I said, oh, you can't forget your headdress, because I had an extra headdress on set. So he put the headdress on her, and she holds up the oar and says, the pinnacle of my career. You actually did it. You put the canoe on, and you did the scene.
Oh, it was funny. I saw the humor in it. I realized, you know, that I can be as ridiculous as I want to be, and it'll be fun. It was trying to sneak around with the smoke machine and not be seen. But it was good that it was, because she's an amateur. She doesn't know what she's doing, but she's trying to make smoke so that you look good and you're seen, and the whole thing. I was, it was hysterical. Then we couldn't have smoke.
Then the smoke stopped working. When we figured out how to use the smoke machine, then it ran out of smoke. It didn't like melt the pipe or something.
Yeah, it did. I don't know really what happened, and I claimed innocence. All the time.
We don't let Lee work smoke machines anymore. You're off limits for smoke machines.
I know.
As a musical theater performer, sometimes, like the character of Anthony, I've been a little strapped for cash. And so you're always thinking, how can I get more money? And I'll never forget one day, and I was writing the script, and someone says, well, donate your sperm. And I thought, I'm not gonna donate my sperm. And suddenly I had this brilliant idea. I said, but Anthony could.
Sperm bank.
I was really nervous doing the film in the first place, but to know that our first scene out the gate was with Emmy winner Sally Struthers, that raised the stakes. I don't think I slept for 2 days before that. I was so excited, so nervous, and she was so freaking talented. I mean, if anyone knows comedy, it's Sally Struthers. How much does it pay?
Well, that depends. Is your junk highly sought after?
How would I know that?
Let's fill out a quick evaluation, shall we? Socioeconomic level. Upper, lower?
What are you doing?
Filling out your application like you asked. Oh, you must have a bad memory. -3 points.
Oh, you're grading me?
It's just a standard form. How tall are you?
5'3".
Oh.
What?
Well, you see, baby making is primal. It goes back to caveman times when a woman looked for the strongest mate to ensure the survival of her offspring. So we're looking for tall, dark, and handsome. And, well, you're short and pale and -5.
But she was brilliant and so funny, and I think one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
It is just so funny. I could watch that over and over again and laugh just as hard.
One of my favorite scenes is when Jeffrey's character does his first strip. It's iconic to me.
You know, especially from what it was in the very beginning. I think he really rose to the occasion, made it his own, and I was proud watching him.
My favorite scene in the film, I love the scene we did in the alleyway with us just being happy, and then went into that where there's three of us and our heads, you know, peer out and then we peer back in, and it was just this wonderful tribute to comedy.
Actually, they're all really, for my money, they're all good, but I love the emotional one at the end. I really did.
I know. It's a touching one.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
really.
I've had people come up to me and actually say that that scene made them cry so much because they wish they had an Ethel in their life. It's really great because our film is a comedy, but there are some moments that stop and breathe, and I think that's one that did that. And I mean, even when I watch it, there's so much heart in that scene, and you have so much love, and it just bubbles over onto camera, and it's beautiful.
It was easy with you, honey.
The response of this film has been incredible at the film festivals. Personally, people have been so sweet and complimentary about, you know, my role in this process and in this film, and it's been so touching. It's nice to play a character like a stripper, but who has a heart, and you know, who leads with that heart, and so people have really, you know, responded to that.
I've never done a movie before. This was my first, so I had such an out-of-body experience. And for the first time in my life, I was sitting watching myself, watching other people watch me, and then people were clapping. And I also love knowing that the way I do it, it's once, and it can't ever be repeated. So the fact that that was it, and that's it forever.
We were at the festival in Palm Springs, and they loved us. They brought so much love to that space. We had the small cinema. They had no idea what they had. We were so hot, they had to show it twice.
After I saw Waiting in the Wings, I was just so happy with how great it turned out. I mean, like, as we were shooting, the music was so good, and I enjoyed the script so much that I was like, oh, I hope, you know, in post-production this turns out as well as I think it's going to, and it did. So, and that's a really hard thing to do. It's just a great movie. I was so happy when I saw the finished product.
I have to tell you something about Lee. We've gone to festivals, and she often tells people, Jeffrey didn't allow me to sing in the first movie.
To sing, but no one let me.
Festival where people see the film and they might have just met me, or they've gotten me over the weekend, or in New York we saw one where people know me. I think they are surprised that I can sing and that I'm singing the musical, and they're pleasantly surprised, you know.
And it's amazing to see that it's won awards and that audiences really, really love it.
Let me also mention San Diego, which personally gave my character a lot of love. There was a moment where that poor character, Jeffrey's character, said something he should not have said about Kelsey, and Kelsey was not having it.
Thank you.
Who's that?
Kelsey. He's a drag queen.
Oh, but he's so talented. No one's gonna take a drag queen seriously.
Not when you Gloria in excelsis. And they clutched their pearls in San Diego. They were like, oh, fierce. You'll know the moment if you watch the film.
In the sequel, I'm assuming it's just Rita. Actually, it's a one-person movie.
My hopes for Gina in the sequel is that we see more of her terribleness and bitterness.
I actually would love it if Rita, because you see her confidence in the first movie. Everything's confident, you rarely see her vulnerability. I would love for her to really be hit with something big. Not a brick or a ladder. More like, maybe she gets knocked up. That would be a fun scene with Adam Huss. What?
We were to see Tony a year later. I think that he would continue to grow and change because that's where by the end of the film, I think his journey, you know, it wasn't over, of course. You know, he just sort of arced and came into his own and realizing that he had more potential than being a male stripper. I think he'd probably move out of his brother's house, get his own place, get on his own 2 feet.
Hopefully Gina learns a lesson or two and becomes a nicer person, but we'll see, or not. Maybe we just like Gina being nasty. I don't know, I haven't read the script, we'll find out.
Well, I do hope that she gets a chance, really a chance, to sing and perform. That would be really nice. I would love that. But if not, it's okay, just so I have a nice dramatic scene, someplace, somehow, somewhere.
Well, I just think it'd be really interesting to see her deal with not being the star of a show. Because that's fun to play, but I think it's more interesting when you see someone struggle.
Gina probably had to go back to waiting tables at Olive Garden in Times Square and became more bitter and jaded. Maybe she did some more like off Broadway shows, but she has a really bad personality, so I'm sure people don't like to work with Gina very much. I don't think Gina works a lot as an actress in New York.
I will say this. As the sequel's in the works, a song might be coming your way for the sequel. Might be, if she's on good behavior.
If I were to guess what was gonna happen with Anthony and Lee, I would say that, you know, they're on their way to being in love. And, you know, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes, you know, maybe a little dancer, stripper baby in the baby carriage.
What would I like to see happen to Kelsey? Crap, that's a great question, but I actually don't have an answer because I kind of am really being open to whatever they bring for him, just so that I don't have to think about it, so that it's something that when I see it for the first time, I can dive into it for the first time.
I love you, love you, love you, love you.
It will be a lot of fun. I think the sequel's going to be fun. She hasn't read the sequel yet.
No, I haven't. I'm dying. When?
Soon. She rushes me.
I love musicals. I mean, picking a favorite would be difficult because there's so many different genres now.
God, I should have thought more about this. Who knew this question was going to be coming?
My favorite Broadway musical. What is my favorite Broadway musical?
My favorite musical?
I would have to say my all-time favorite musical.
My favorite would be...
I'm gonna have to go... God, this is so hard.
So I really don't have a favorite musical.
I have to go with the Sondheim because Sondheim's my favorite.
Into the Woods, obviously. Bernadette.
My favorite musical is Tough, which I know I've been hounding everyone else about their favorite musical.
You know, you're killing me here.
Like, I used to love the old school musicals, like 42nd Street, just, you know, classic Broadway and big musical numbers.
My favorite classic musical is probably Hello Dolly or Peter Pan.
And I have such a fond memory of it was Spring Awakening.
I love Company, but I also love Into the Woods.
Let me say Dreamgirls. It was one of the first big musicals that I personally saw that I saw myself in.
And now we have shows like Next to Normal, which are just so near and dear to my heart, you know, with my family background.
And my favorite new age has got to be either Wicked, Book of Mormon, or Avenue Q. I love puppets.
And I also love A Little Night Music, and I also love Passions. Like, I could go on and on.
Waiting in the Wings, there's something magical about it. It's not just a movie, it's an experience.
You know, it's been so exciting to see this movie do so well and all over the world.
I've made some really great friends on working on Waiting in the Wings, and that is a rarity. That usually happens when you do a musical and you're working with a cast for about 6 or 7 months and you make these great friends. But in a movie, I worked literally 4 days on Waiting in the Wings, and I have a host of friends that I am absolutely in love with.
Those are the films that you really remember because everyone's putting their blood, sweat, and tears in them and their heart, and especially Jeffrey really put his heart and soul into this film, and you feel that. And so there's no, I don't know, it just seems like a different thing. There's a little family you make. I enjoyed seeing everyone every day.
There's something so much more authentic to a stage experience in this movie. The sweetness, the intimacy that you don't get with the big Hollywood blockbuster musicals that they miss the boat on.
I had the time of my life working on this film. I'm so glad that this was one that I decided that I had to fight for to get.
It's not going to change the world, but I hope it brings a smile to people's faces.
It's made me re-fall in love with theater again because I had missed it. It was missing from my life for so long, and doing this I felt like filled a hole in my heart, a musical theater hole in my heart that had been missing for a long time.
I just love that this movie captures the feeling of going to the theater, but you're going to the movies.
Take a chance, take a step and dance the dance. Our voices we will sing.